Hi guys. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I have a little sunbeam coming over my face. I apologize. I had to close my blinds because we have the sunlight, the sun setting on that side, but I am so excited to have another hour of light. Are you? I know it was kind of crazy. You had to go to bed at a weird time and get up really dark, right? That was crazy, but I love it. And that means you get to go out and play longer. So, anyway, I digress. I'm so glad you're here. We are going to be making looms, which are so fun. I'm so excited. This is a throwback, isn't it? So if you ask your adult, I bet they've seen these before. And here's a fun fact. I never actually made these as a child, but I totally wanted to learn. So when I saw that Creatology had their kit, it was on. I was definitely making these. So let's go ahead and I'm going to flip my camera so that you can see the supplies that we need. And if you've taken my class before, would you please let us know your name, how old you are, where you're joining us from in the Q&A. We love to give shout outs. So if you want to say anything like, ooh, I'm making these colors, or I chose these, or I went swimming today, or baseball happened today, we love to know that about you. So please just write anything there that you would like us to know about you, and we will try to shout you out. We love it, love it. So this is how you can get in touch with us at Learn with Michaels. We would love to see what colors you chose. What did you make your pot? What is your pot holder? And that's essentially what we're making, these little pot holders. So you can find me too at la_cozy_casita. This is for your adult. And then here's some fun hashtags. So we are going to talk supplies. So we are going to, of course, need our loom. It came in a box looking like this. So in this box, you have your weaving loom and you have your crochet hook. You also have a little bag of looms, and this should give you enough to make one pot holder. But I went ahead and I have some extra bands here. They call them loopers. So these bands here is what gave me this pot holder. So, I mean, it can be a pot holder, it can be a trivet, like maybe if your adult is taking something out of the oven and they want to put it on the table, but they don't want to put it on the table because it's hot, this is what you could make for them called a trivet. So they would put the pot right on there or take something out of the oven with the pot holders. Okay. So this one is more of like a cottony feel. And then this one is more like nylons, like tights kind of feel. So there's two different options that you can choose from. And you decide, but the ones that came in your kit are the cottony ones. And that's what this one is. Okay, so the other thing I added to our list was this really long crochet hook. And the reason why I chose this really long crochet hook is because, and it'll make sense to you when we start making our pattern, but we're going to start by stretching our looms or our bands across the loom. We're going to stretch, 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 stretch. And then when we go this way, we have to weave in and out, in and out, in and out of these bands that we stretched. Well, that could be tricky to do with this little hook. So if you have a long crochet hook, and I put it in the comments under what else to bring for supplies, but if you don't have this, do not worry. You could use a pencil. You could use like a thin paintbrush. If you've taken my classes before, you can use one of the paintbrushes. You could use a bamboo skewer, possibly. So there's lots of other things that you could use that would help that along, okay? And if you don't have it, don't worry. This is just a nice little hack to use, okay? All right, so let's get started. If you have any questions, please let us know in the Q&A. And on this pot holder, I really didn't use a pattern, but you can choose a pattern if you want. So if you just want to use your red ones and maybe try to do rainbow colors, you could. If your favorite color is brown and green, or you want to make one for like a lake house, or maybe your grandparents have a cabin, that might be fun. I made this around Valentine's Day, so I grabbed all the red and the pinks out of the bag. So you choose what you want. If you have a favorite sports team, you can choose those colors. Tonight, I am going to just use whatever my hands grab. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to try not to put the same color right next to each other. Okay, so here we go. And then if there's any shout outs, Nicole, you just feel free to interject at any time. I don't mind one bit.
So I actually have a couple right now.
Oh, perfect.
First, we have Tenley from Lebanon, who's 10 years old. And they said, I think I'm going to do the colors pink, orange, yellow, and white.
Wow,
And
so cool. Welcome all the way from Lebanon. That's amazing.
and then Bianna asked, do we need to use a square loom because I have only a rectangle?
You have a rectangle one? Cool. Totally use it. Totally use it. That's awesome. I didn't even know they had rectangle looms. So I definitely want to see that when you're done. As long as it looks like this and has the same, if it has these little spikes, you can totally use it. I'm guessing it's just a little longer on one side. Yes, use it. Okay. So we are just going to, oh, did we say ages? I'm so sorry, Nicole. I missed the ages. I was like, just so
You were so good. So right now, just 10 for sure.
good. Okay. I was just taken aback by the Lebanon. I think that's so cool. Okay. So what we're gonna, and this is like a harder class, which is why I'm expecting older friends. So you're just gonna start by taking those bands. I'm gonna pull up just a little bit, pull my camera up just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so you're going to start by taking the bands and stretching them all the way across. Now, what you want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure that those bands come all the way down instead of up. You know, sometimes they'll just stick right up here, or you might get it halfway there. Just make sure it goes all the way down because you don't want it flinging up on you. Okay. So I'm just going to start by pulling these all the way across. I wonder if these are old, like recycled sweatshirts or something. They kind of look like that. Sleeves. And you'll notice some are tighter than others. Like this one was a little tighter. There's an orange, and this one feels looser. So you'll notice they're a little different.
And Elizabeth, we do have another shout out.
Let's hear it.
We have Shri from Richmond, who is 12 years old.
Welcome, Shri. This is fun. This is a good, like, for preteens. This is a good craft for them. We don't do a lot of like preteen crafts, so I was excited when I saw this one. Ooh, and this is like a little treasure, you guys. Like, look at this one. It's like rainbow colored. So cute. And then I found this band over here. It's got sparkles. You'll have to let me know if you find a band with sparkles in it. It's like finding the golden Easter egg. Can you see the shimmers in this one? Let me see if I hold it up. See that? Isn't that pretty? So, ooh, here's a white one. Sometimes I just kind of look at them and I just kind of change them up a little. There's a hot pink. You put it down how you want. If you want yours to go darker, like use all your darker colors to lighter, do that. You want light to dark. If it doesn't matter to you and you just want to do, just put them on willy-nilly, that's fine too. So here's one that's kind of snagged. I'm not going to use this one. Either I can choose to snip it off like that and then use it. But since I have so many of them, I'm going to use another one because I just don't want them to already have snagged. And you're going to have little pieces. That's totally fine. But a bigger piece.
Elizabeth, we also have Annalise, who is 8 years old.
Hi, Annalise. Welcome. I snipped that one. See, I'm playing favorites now because I like this purple one a lot. So I put it in and I just snipped it. Okay, I made it to the end. Did you make it to the end? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now turn my loom. Whoop. Now, you might think the next step is to just do the same thing, but it's not. So this is where your handy dandy long crochet hook or your handy dandy bamboo skewer or your handy dandy pencil. Well, this is not going to work very well. You have to have a long pencil or a pencil that hasn't been sharpened down. Okay, so you would need a longer pencil. Like I said, you could use a paintbrush, something that's going to go straight across and cover all of your bands. That's what we're looking for. So here's the hack that I have. If you don't have the hack, if you don't have something long, don't worry. I'll show you how to do it without. But here's the hack. You're going to go in and out, in and out. Okay, so I'm going to move this like this so you can see a little better. I'm kind of turning that hook in. Did you see what I did here? So I've got 2 bands on top, 1 band on the bottom. So what I'm doing, each of these bands, there's 2 lines that make each band, right? Do you see that? So if you remember when we put the band on, whoop, now we have 2 parts, right? Both of these parts have to go either above or below. They're a package deal. So we're not putting one up and one down. They come together, right? They're a team. So one up, one goes up, the other one goes up. Does that make sense? So now 2 are going down. Now 2 sparklies are coming up. 2 black ones are going down. 2 orange ones are coming up. 2 pink going down. 2 gray up. 2 green down. 2 teal up. 1 rainbow down. Do you see what I did here? So now what that has given me the opportunity to do is it has allowed me to raise those. Do you see how they're risen? They're raised up. So now when I put my band across, I'm going to be able to pull it through easily. Okay, so it'll make sense here in a second. So now I've got my other crochet hook. So I can't use this crochet hook for the weaving because as you can see, I need it to keep the bands up. This one I'm now going to use. This is the one with the kit. So I'm putting one part of the band, and if you've missed anything, don't worry. We've got 20 other, we have 20 opportunities to learn, okay? So I'm just showing you where we're going first, and then I'll do it again. So I've got the end of the band on the left side of the loom, okay? I'm starting with this peg all the way to the left bottom. I've got the loom or the band stuck on just one of those pegs, just one. Now, what I have to do, and it's a little tricky this very first go round. Got to give a little bit of slack there. Now I'm pulling under, okay, just to get it started. Just getting it started here. It's easy to do with your fingers to get it started because I've already pulled it up, right? Already pulled these up using this larger crochet hook. Do you see how I'm pulling it through just with my fingers right now? Okay, it's very easy to manipulate just using your fingers. What I'm trying to do is just get it stuck. There we go. So now it's kind of hanging on to this first peg. Now what I'm going to do is with my crochet hook, I'm coming under here. Let me zoom in so you can see. I'm grabbing, so I've gone under just to pull this band through. Okay. So now that I'm here at the end, see, that was pretty quick. I know this is sounding confusing in the beginning, but I promise it's going to get easier. I'm grabbing these that are on the top and I'm pulling it through. Okay. Pull through and let it hook on to that band there. Okay. So I've got my every other. All right. So now I'm taking my crochet hook off. Now I'm going to do that again, but this time I have to go the opposite direction. So now I'm pulling the ones that were on the bottom, I'm bringing those to the top. So we're going opposite. So now this teal one was on the top last time, but now it's going to be down on the bottom. In, out, up, down, up, down. Like I said, this is just a little hack. You don't have to have it, but it does help weave it quicker, in my opinion. Okay, so I've got them up, down, up, down. Now, let me move it over a little. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my band, but it has to be opposite of what I just did. So on this little pink and teal, I went under this white band. But now I have to go on top of the white band. You see that? So there was under. Now I'm going over. Now I have to go under the purple, over the blue. And of course, you have different colors, but I'm just calling out the colors that I see on mine. So I'm just using my fingers first. Just kind of gets it real quick. There we go. Until it's kind of straight. Now what I'm doing is I'm coming this way and I have to grab I'm going to grab this band. So I'm going this way and I'm going over and under. Over, under. And then just pull it over. And you'll feel that it gets pretty tight. And that's where you really use that hook to pull it on. And then bring it over. Okay. It really will start making sense to you as you start to see the pattern. Okay. So now what we have to do is we're going to pull up the opposite bands once more. Okay, now I'm going to show you what to do if you don't have this hook. Okay, let me show you one more time though. All right, so we go, so now this one, I'm grabbing the opposite. So pink was down, now it's coming up. And you can tell because you can see that this blue is down. Well, now I need the opposite. So I'm going to pull it up. You can tell when you put that last band, it keeps some up and some down. If it's not as easy for you to do it this way, do it the way that is easiest for you. This was a hack that was easy for me. And so that's why I chose to do it this way. So now I look and I have to go under this white one because I went over last time. So I'm doing the same thing I did on the very first band. Under, over, under, over. So under the white, over the purple, and then make sure it doesn't twist on you. And remember, they're a pair. So you are grabbing both parts of the loop. And make sure that you're not skipping any of these pegs here. So I'm on the third peg, so I don't want to catch it on the fourth or the fifth. Make sure you don't have any spaces between. I've actually done that before where I thought, oh, no, I need to go back and fix it. I think going under is easier. Okay, so I was able to do that with my fingers, and now I'm just going to come through and grab this last loop, and I'm putting it on my third peg. Woo, it's so tight. This one's really, really tight. There we go. I got it. There we go. So you might have to have your adult help you if it's a tight band like that one is. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the hack. Okay. Once you get it started, it's a little easier. You can see how some are lifted. Do you see that? So then it'll just be easier to remember. Okay, now I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so I'm going to grab another band. Now, if you just have your crochet hook, all you're going to do, and again, I like to use my fingers here in the beginning. So I'm going to go over, under, doing the opposite of what I just did. And if you forget and you start weaving and you're like, oh my gosh, don't worry, just undo it. Because when I made these other two, I was like watching TV, and then before I knew it, I thought, oh my gosh, I was doing the same pattern. So I just redid it. Under, over, under, over. You do need to have that little hook on the end though, because it does get a little tight. Is this making sense to you, friends? Oh, look, I did this one without the hook at all. Check it out. So it just depends. Some of those are tighter. And then just grab them and push them to one end because it's going to get really, really tight towards the end here. Okay. Are you guys doing okay? All right, let's keep going. It's racing. I don't know if you heard that or not. Okay, so under, over, under, over. So I'm just kind of showing you how to do it without. But like I said, once you get it started, it's kind of easy to pull it up and then down. Just make sure you're pulling both of the bands. Sometimes I just have to double check. Wait, did I grab them right?
All right, Elizabeth, we have a few more shout outs.
Okay.
Biana has said, I am 9 and I have a cat and a parrot and a snake, and I also have 6 older siblings, and this is my first class.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What a fun family, a fun house you have. You always have something going on, it sounds like. That's fun.
And Shri says that we are doing great. Yay.
Oh, good. I'm so glad, Shri. When I do crafts like this that are a little more challenging, it just makes me wonder how you guys are doing since I can't see you. So thank you so much for that. Something like this, it can be challenging. So I'm proud of you guys for trying something. And the great thing is when you're learning something like this, once you get the hang of it, It's so fun to do and like really relaxing. So if you're the person that kind of likes doing crafts, well, I feel like you do because you're here. Um, Once you get the hang of a craft, it really can be a relaxing activity to do. So then you just move this over. And then just weave it through. How are we doing on time? Good. I like to do my little time checks here. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to finish it off. I really like the finger hacks too, because going pretty well. Okay, and then this one goes across. And see how it's just kind of separated there? And then, ooh, a packed two-story house. I love that. Okay, see how this is kind of down, it's kind of scooped down like this? You're going to push it up because you've got to make room for those other ones coming. Now, once you guys, Mother's Day is coming around. So if you want a gift to make for someone, a grandma, a mom, an auntie, a neighbor, like these are great gifts. It's something that you made yourself. And so that is very special. My kids always like to sell these at their little lemonade stands. Well, I don't know if my kids did it. I saw neighbors doing them. My kids always did the perler beads. I'm not advocating to go out selling. I'm just saying I've seen them out. But I think they make a great gift. Okay. Whew, that one was tighter. There we go. I like that orange. It really stands out. So that little hack there is really good for our younger friends too. Because sometimes they don't see the pattern of every other one. And so it's helpful for them. So there we go. And then your bands might feel differently than my bands, where you have to use your hook a little more. And that's totally fine. Sometimes I really have to think it through too, like, oh, this one goes under. That's also why I like you using that hack because then I already thought about like under, over, under, over. And like I said, if you make a mistake, all you have to do is unweave it and just start it over. There we go. Ooh, I love that. I didn't think I would like that orange so much, but I really do. Did you guys get orange in your packs? It's a pretty one. Let's spread it out though. Okay. All right. So let us know in the Q&A, have you started any spring activities, any spring sports or classes? Do you take extra classes like piano or baseball, track, theater? You guys do anything like that? We're just getting to where we're starting those extracurriculars. My kids just started swimming. My son just started swimming. And my daughter is doing the play at school. She's doing the makeup for the play. And today, and she plays the violin. So today she had an orchestra concert. So it's been a busy day in our house today.
Grace says she was Alice in Alice in Wonderland, the play.
Wow, congratulations. That's a big deal. So cool. That was my favorite cartoon growing up. My favorite movie. I loved that one. I always wanted to have an Alice in Wonderland party for my daughter, but I couldn't convince her of it because I wanted to do the cute little, um, like I wanted to have the cookies that said eat me, the little tiny ones, and then the little tiny drinks that said drink me. I thought it would be so fun, but I could never convince her.
Cindy says she's thinking about learning guitar this spring, and Grace said thank you. Also, Biana says we went to Disneyland yesterday and we're going to Legoland on Saturday, which is awesome.
Oh my goodness. So are you
They
out on
said they have
vacation
a
right
really
now?
good pet sitter.
Wow. We have a really we have a good pet sitter. I love that. Yes, you do. That is so cool. Okay, so guitar in the spring, that is so fun. That is a skill that I feel like you won't regret. So my daughter Lena started learning the ukulele during the pandemic. So my mother-in-law taught her happy birthday on the ukulele, and then the world shut down. So she already knew how to play that. So I said, you're not allowed to watch TV, but you are allowed to watch YouTube and learn how to play more songs on your ukulele. Well, did she ever? She learned so many songs on that ukulele. She loved it. And we loved listening to her play. And she got really good at that. And then she transitioned to the guitar. And then she started playing a little electric guitar. And all the while she was learning the violin. So she really likes to play string instruments. So I think that's really quite fabulous that you want to learn to play the guitar. That's amazing. So when you can learn to play the guitar, you can learn to play lots of other stringed instruments.
Tenley says I'm starting out baton practices since it's getting warm.
Oh my goodness, so fun. Oh, that would be so amazing. I always wanted to be, what is that? The majorettes in the band, like the marching band. They get to have the baton too. Do they? Yeah, I feel like they have a baton too. I love that. That's so cool. And then you can flip it up in the air and do a spin. That'd be amazing.
Tenley said yes.
Oh, so cool.
And don't forget the flag girls. They're pretty awesome. I always wanted to be a flag.
I was a flag girl in eighth grade. It was so fun. I love that. You totally should have, Nicole. It's a lifelong skill because, when you're sweeping your floors, you can just break out your skill of twirling the flag with the broom.
Tenley says, I want to be a majorette at Penn State.
Wow, I love that you have a big goal like that already. That's amazing. Good for you. That makes my heart happy. I believe you can do it. I believe it. You keep practicing, keep working towards your goal. You'll get better every day, except on the days you don't, because that'll happen too. And you just learn from them. It's amazing. We might see you on TV one of these days. Y'all, this is so fun. We're having like conversations during our crafting. I love it because we're doing the same thing over and over again, right? I love it. I love it. So keep on talking to us, guys. Okay, so your pet sitter, that's fun. Your pet. So is this from the same family that has all the animals?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you must have a really lovely pet sitter if they want to feed your snake and all the other things. That's amazing. Are you guys keeping along with me, or are you ahead of me or behind me? I just kind of want to know.
Annalise is actually ahead of you and waiting for you to show us the secret on how to take them off once you're done.
Oh, okay. Good to know. What did I do here? I made a mistake. I was chit-chatting because that all looks right. Down, up, down, up. A mistake here. Oh, that's what I did. See, I got to chit-chatting. Well, thank you for your patience. You are fast.
Cindy says, I'm a little behind, but it looks really good so far. Grace says, I'm doing great. I'm doing it a different way, but keeping up.
Oh,
And
good.
Annalise says that she's going to her grandma's house on Monday at school for the talent show. Very
And
cool.
then what's the talent? Grandma's house on Monday at my school for the talent show. So fun. Are you in the talent show? Are you watching the talent show? It's amazing. Doing it a different way. So I've wondered if there's different, well, I'm sure there's different ways to do this. So that's kind of fun. It's fun once you find your way, the way that works for you. And the way I look at it is if it's coming out this way, you do it. If it's working for you, by all means. Have you ever heard the term there's more than one way to skin a cat? It means there's different ways to get to the same result, which is cool. Okay, so this one I'm gonna have to go.
Biana says they live on a farm with a huge plot of land. So
Oh,
I think that helps with all the pets.
that's so cool. I wish we had farm fresh eggs. I buy farm fresh eggs from a friend who has chickens. But that is my husband's goal. He has always wanted to live on a farm. Oops, I did this wrong.
Annalise says she's watching the talent show with her grandma on Monday.
Oh, so fun.
Talent shows are
Grandmas are the
great.
best. My daughter, our grandparents live far away from us. That's sad. We're in North Carolina and the grandparents are in Illinois. Oopsies, one popped off. So that's really, really sad that they come to visit.
Tenley says, I have 8 pegs done so far.
Way to go.
Biana says it's about 30 minutes to get to a store.
Oh my goodness. So when I was growing up, my mom married a farmer and we used to live in the city. So I was used to the city life. And then we moved out to the country and the same thing. It was about 20 minutes or so to get to the grocery store, just the small grocery store. But then it was 45 minutes to get to the bigger city, like to the mall, to the Target, all that kind of stuff. So that was quite different. But I really liked being a part of a school that was small. That was really special because then you got to do all the things. I got to do track and volleyball and drama. I got to do all the stuff. So now here, because we live outside of Charlotte, you can't do that. You really can only choose one thing and you got to stick with it. But in a small town, everybody helps each other out, don't they? That's really special. Whoop. And you have to be a planner for when you go to the grocery store. I wouldn't be too good at that. I'm not good at planning things out like that.
Annalise says, I have 2 dogs, and Biana says, yours looks really great. I love the colors.
Ooh, thanks. I bet yours is amazing too. Almost to the end. Oop. Come on, little guy. I did think that this would be harder for me when I'm teaching the class because I'm concentrating on you guys and then I'm also concentrating on the looms. Oh, let's see, what did I do here? Okay, this one is off somehow. Up, down, up, down. Here we go.
Grace says she's doing green, white, and light and dark pink for Easter.
Ooh, cute. It's a good idea. Can have that at the Easter dinner table. So I am going to be on our Charlotte news station. So I also like to cook. And so at least about every once a month or every 6 weeks, I cook on our Charlotte news station. So I'm doing the Easter segment and I'm trying to decide what I should make. So I was thinking maybe I should do deviled eggs, elevated deviled eggs. But then I thought maybe I should make those peanut butter eggs, which are really fun, like Reese's eggs, but the homemade version. Thought that would be fun, or a carrot cake would be fun, or Jello eggs. I thought that would be fun. So it's hard to make a decision, but I need to decide here in about 2 weeks. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Those little lamb cakes at Easter time, those are fun, aren't they?
So we have another friend who says, "Hi, I'm 8 and my name is Mia."
Hi,
And
Mia.
then another friend asked, "Couldn't you just weave the long crochet hook across and then in one smooth move pull it back to your uh, the other side and attach it to the loop?"
Yes, see, that's what I'm doing right now.
Great
I don't
minds
know
think alike.
what's that?
I said,
Yes,
great
right.
minds think alike.
They sure do. And I really want to use that long crochet hook, but I feel bad if people don't have it. So I'm using the itty bitty one. But yes, for sure. I really, when I was making the other ones, I was using the long crochet hook. And then for whatever reason tonight, I was like using my fingers more. Almost there.
Grace says that that's what she's doing is the just pull across, I
Just pull
guess.
it
So,
across. Yeah. But then you can't get all the way back here. That's the only tricky part. Are you able to do that, Grace?
and then Lisa asked, "Have you tried a crochet hook with a latch?" And I'm not sure what that one
Is
personally.
that what this is?
I don't
I'm not a
know.
crocheter. Is that what this latch? Is this the latch? I'm not sure. It gets
And
tricky.
Grace said she is able to get it all the way back to her. So
He is? Oh wow. It must just be my fingers. Get it all the way across. Is Grace the one that's ahead of me?
Annalise is the one ahead of you who has
Okay.
two dogs and is doing black and white.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, and then you got to turn that so it doesn't catch on to the other ones.
And Mia says she really loves this craft. So
Oh, good. There we go. Here we go, go, go. Oop,
Grace says, "I think you should make a puff pastry carrot with veggie cream cheese filling with parsley at the top."
that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Like we used to call those veggie pizzas a few years ago, similar to that. That's a great idea. I did one like
And
that
then,
with roasted asparagus and cream
yum.
cheese. Oh, it was really good.
And then Biana asked, "What's your favorite color?"
My favorite color, ooh, it's hard to choose just one, but I really like a hot pink. I did a craft. I don't know if you were with me, Nicole, and I was like obsessed with there was a certain pink color. Oh, I loved it. It was like this pink yarn color. It's like this color, but it doesn't show up very well on screen. But I love this pink color so much. All right, we're almost there, guys. Two more left. I'm going for the big guy now.
Grace says she just finished. And Mia asked, how are you?
I am good, Mia. You're so sweet. We had a busy day today. So I'm a teacher and I had a training for teachers today, which was kind of nice. I always like to do trainings and learn a little more. And so I did that. But what I like about doing trainings is I get to go out to eat for lunch, and that makes me happy. And I get to sleep in just a little longer.
And then Fiona also asked, do you like slime or do you find it to be a little freaky? She said it freaks my mom out.
Oh, same. Okay, so I do like slime, and I actually I've done it. I've taught a couple slime classes with Michael's, but if I'm being completely honest, all the adults know what I'm talking about. It is such a mess. And if it gets in the carpet or on the floor or on the cabinets, it's not my favorite. But the class that I taught was super fun. It was like a unicorn slime class, which I loved. The only thing about it is that day I was having such trouble with my Wi-Fi. So you can find that video on YouTube, but it might be a little glitchy. But if you can get through the glitchiness, we made slime from scratch and it was so fun. And it had glitter and all these unicorns and rainbows. It was super fun. But oh, and then I took it to school and let my students play with it, and they loved it. They loved it. So that was fun. And I like that it brings kids so much joy, but I'm with your mama.
Fiona said in lots of E letters, I love slime.
Now, do you make it yourself or do you buy it? And if you make it yourself, do you do the like all the different kinds like cloud slime and the stuff with the borax? Like, I'm curious. All right, guys, that's my last one. Whew. Phew, we did it, guys. Okay, now I'm going to pull up. So if you've been waiting on me, I'm going to show you how to finish this off. Okay, so this is what we have to do. So we are going to grab whatever you grab is going to kind of be your hook. Okay, so let me grab a corner here. Let me think. So let me get it started. Oh, let me try to remember now. We go under and you put this on your hook, I believe. Just bear with me for 1 second. And then you go, yes, and then pull it through. Okay. So I just, before I didn't want to give you the wrong instruction there. So thank you for bearing with me for 5 seconds. Okay. So what you're going to do is, let me grab the blue one, just in case you don't have, you're going to grab this loom here in the corner. You're going to put it on your hook. See? So I took it off its peg. Now I'm going to go to the next side. So I took it off to the left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the needle, the crochet hook, inside this loop here. And I'm grabbing the left side. So it's the side closest to all of these other hooks, all these other loops. So I'm grabbing it, just that side. Pull it off. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hook and I'm pulling it through. So now I've let go of this one, and now I just have this one. So I'm going to do that again. I'm grabbing the left side. So remember when we were pulling them up, down, up, down, up, down, I said they're a pair and they go together. Now they're separating. So you're just grabbing one side of the band. Now with your hook, you're going to grab that and you're going to pull it through. Now, if you need your hands to help you, you're going to pull that second band around. Okay, I'm going to zoom in even more so you can see what I'm doing. Grab the left side and pull it through. So I'm turning my hook so it's grabbing onto that and it's coming through the right loop. So it's hooking through. Now, if you are not able to do that, just grab both on your hook here and just use your hands, your fingers. So you're pulling it through just like that. So you might prefer to do it with your hands instead of just the hook. Like I was crocheting with my hands earlier or weaving. So I'm lifting this hook up here, or I'm sorry, this band, and I'm pulling with the crochet hook underneath. Do you see that? And then I'm pushing the hook through. And you see, and are you able, I know this is a little confusing. This is the most confusing part. Grab just one part of the band, pull it off the peg. So now I just have two parts, 1 and 2. Now I'm pulling this band through this band. So I'm pulling the band closest to the hook through the band that's furthest away from the hook, just like this. Pull it through. You can see it's starting to create a braid. So grab the left, pull it through. Grab the left side of the band, pull it through the band that's already on your hook. Pull it through and out. Is this making sense? Pull it through. Now, if you see that you're making a mistake, you can just weave it back on and try again. Pull it through. Now, before you do the next corner, I have a hack for you, okay? So 1 second, because sometimes the bands can come off and you don't want them to come off after you just you worked so hard to weave them on. And you can see I'm just kind of turning my hook a little. Grabbing it, turn the hook, pull it through. Hope that this is making sense to you. Grab it again and pull it through. Okay, so now we're at a corner. You're just turning it and you're doing the same thing all over again. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you is what starts to happen as we weave this, your whole thing is going to become loose, and what will begin to happen is some of these will start to pop off. So what is a good hack is just to grab part of your loom and just stick it on right here on the side. That way, these won't pop up on you. You don't have to do it, but most likely they'll start to pop up. And then what you'll do is you'll just tighten it back up and tuck it in. So it looks like you're ruining it, but you really aren't. I'll show you how to fix it. Now we're just weaving. Are you guys getting the hang of this? Once you do a few, then you're going to get the hang of like turning your hook and putting it through. Pop it off. So look what just happened. It came off. That's totally fine. I just grab it again. And you could, if it's easier for you to just put it back on, you can do that. Or you can just put it right on your little needle, on your crochet hook. That's totally fine too. I keep calling it a needle, but it's a hook. Came off again. Well, you little stinker. There we go. So it was a beautiful day today in North Carolina. It is just spring is right around the corner and it's so exciting. I really want to go on a walk after this. I'm excited that it's light out longer. I will tell you with the time change, I have not wanted to go to the gym in the mornings. So I have not gone to the gym this week, which is why I need to go on a walk. Get some exercise.
So Elizabeth, Fiona has asked, well, one, she said, I made the slime myself. I love cloud slime. And how many of these have you made since you learned how to make these loom weave things?
I have made just these two, and I started making a rainbow one, which I really liked, but I took it off right before this class. So 2.5. So this one's going to make number 3. But my daughter had one of these, and once she started, now she's 15, so she doesn't craft as much as she used to, but her and her friends, they would just make these over and over again and just chit chat. It's a fun thing to do when you have a friend over. Oh, I popped off.
And Lisa said, I'm in Western North Carolina. It was beautiful today.
Oh, so gorgeous. I love living in North Carolina. Beautiful weather. Some of these are tight, guys. Oh, you know what? And I forgot to make my little anchor loop. So let me go ahead and do that. There we go. Nicole was telling us how she loved these when she was a little girl. So Nicole, you might be going to Michael's soon, huh? Are we giving you FOMO? Fear of missing
Oh,
out?
I will definitely be making one of these later. Have no fear.
Getting tighter. Whoop, bracelet's getting caught. Pull my camera up a little bit. So this is a good craft to do on a road trip. Or if you go camping, this is kind of something to do like around the fire. My family and I, we like to go camping. We haven't gone camping for, well, I guess we went last May. But usually we go a couple times a year and we really haven't. We've been busy. Are you guys campers? Are you a camper, Nicole? All right, we are almost there. Got one more side to go. Oh yeah, see, I am a crocheter on a trip. Well, I should say I used to be a crocheter on a road trip. I like doing that on a road trip or on an airplane, but I did crochet once on an airplane and I got too hot and I thought, ooh, I can't do this anymore. You're almost there, friends. Just a couple left. Grace, you're done. Okay, Tenley, not a camper, but I really enjoy going to the beach. Me too. I like going to the beach too. I like camping and beaching it, but I prefer camping, I think. I do like the beach though. I think it would be a toss up for my family. They like beach and camping. They really like the water. I just like watching.
Cindy says, I love camping and traveling.
So fun. Me too. It's my life goal, my long life goal to get an Airstream. I think that would be so fun to have one of those silver RVs. We tent camp though. One left. Okay, so this last guy, so you're going to release everything. Okay, and then this last guy, you're going to pull a little tighter. And now keep your finger in this one and pull these guys. So your little anchor loops, you're just pulling these sides until it gets tucked back in. And so it's going to look like it's curled out a little, but you just work them out. See, they end up getting flat. So you just kind of work and stretch a little. Make sure this guy stays out. There we go. Ooh, pretty. I like that my gold one ended up in the middle, my gold loop. And see, you have a little hook if you want. Beach and camp are your two faves. Same. Can't wait are you guys going anywhere on spring break? Maybe some of you are on spring break right now. I'm going to New York City soon. It's not going to be on spring break though. And then I'm going to Charleston soon, which I love Charleston. It's my favorite city. My daughter's turning 16 and that's where she wants to go for her birthday trip. So you just keep working it out. It's funny because some are tighter than others. Just keep stretching it until you're happy with the look of it. And like I said, as you go, it will flatten out as time passes. It'll settle down a little bit. It's just a little curly in the beginning. You could press a book on it if you want. There we go. Are you guys happy with your pot holders? Do you like how they turned out? Oh, Shri, it looks great. I love it. Going to give it to my mom. Oh, that's so sweet. She's gonna love it because you made it. Okay. Ooh, we're over time too. So just wanted to get that going. All right, let me show you what we're making next week. And remember to show me your final project. If your adult is on Instagram, I'd love to see it. I'm at la_cozy_casita on Instagram. I would love to see your final product or project, and so would Michael's. So at Learn with Michael's, we want to see what you have done. And then let me show you what we're making next week. We're making a little
Oh,
E.
Elizabeth,
Yes,
with the last final loop, do you need to knot that loop at all?
you sure could. Yep, you could. Then it won't go anywhere. Mine has not. Mine's just stayed, but you absolutely could. Just loop it around. Give it a little knot if you want, just for extra assurance. There we go. Oop, I pulled something. That's okay. It'll gather a little more there, but just work it out. But you certainly could. See, mine were just so tight. They're okay. But if you don't, then it could come apart, certainly, especially if you put it in the laundry. So thank you. Okay, so we've got a little ducky and we're going to make a little bunny rabbit for Easter. Little keychains, aren't they cute? So this is what we're making next week. So be sure to sign up for my next class. Would love to see you there. And then let me see. I'm going to switch my screen. Where did I go? Let me see. Where did it go? There it is. I lost it for a second. There we go. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had a good time. Here's my pot holder. I love the way it turned out. Look, it matches my shirt, it matches my nails. I did not plan that at all, but check it out. So I hope you loved this class. I really, truly did. It was really fun. I don't think I've ever chatted so much with a class. So that made my heart really happy. I was really glad to make new friends tonight. So thank you for that. And I hope to see you next week where we will be making our fun little peeps keychains. Whoop. And we will see you then, hopefully. All right, you guys, have a great night. We'll see you later.